What is up, guys? Silver Warrior here, hitting you with the most generic intro on all of YouTube. And it's actually kind of a throwback too, because that was the very same intro I would use all the way back in 2014 on this very channel. Now back then, the channel name itself was different, but you get my point. We are finally back in business. Not to waste any of your time, as I used to do all too often with my endless rambling, let's jump into today's topic. That of course being the opportunity to discuss an asset we all possess and use to some extent, but at the same time, this very asset is guaranteed to lose value year after year. To put it simply, I'm talking about what you likely refer to as money. Now, in all reality, cash, currency, whatever you may know it as, its value comes from nothing really, at least not anything physical. You see, the value of today's global currencies is based solely on us believing that they have value. This is because of the switch governments have chosen to make, where the cash we use today is based upon a fiat system. Well, it is not 100% a true fiat system, at least here in the United States. In that case, in the case where you have a 100% pure fiat currency system, you would see the government simply telling us that their money holds value, and our own beliefs, they wouldn't matter at all. What we actually have here is a system where everyone using the United States dollar simply agrees that it holds a certain value, and thus, it does. If we all decided one day to stop recognizing this value, it would actually cease to have any, which is not true for a 100% fiat system. But how much power does this really give us? Almost nobody out there is even close to being in a position where they could survive an economic collapse, and all loss of value to the dollar would certainly ensure one. So yeah, you can choose not to recognize its value anymore, but where are you going to turn then? Now we do have cryptocurrencies available today, but I see an issue with a lot of them as well, particularly the biggest, Bitcoin. In order for anything to be used as a global currency, it can't really also be used as an investment to seek huge profits from. If someone puts $1,000 of whatever currency their country uses into Bitcoin, hoping to have $1,000 worth of Bitcoin that they can now use for purchases online, this value is going to rapidly change day to day, even hour to hour. Your $1,000 could be worth $1,100 the same day, which sounds amazing. But as with any investment, there is also the risk of it going the other way. I am not here to speculate on future prices by any means. If you think Bitcoin will keep on going up, more power to you. I am not in any position to speak on that. But my point is this: currencies need to have some element of stability to them. I am about to talk about how much I hate fiat currency, but at least it is easy to keep track of its value. They remain pretty stagnant. And of course, you don't have to take the same risk that you would take by purchasing Bitcoin or any other investment out there. My point in saying this is not to detract from cryptocurrencies. I understand that there is a ton of potential there, and there's a lot of money being made there as well. My point is that I am not here to try and suggest something that you can use to replace your need for global currency. As it stands today, in some capacity, essentially everybody living in a first world nation at some point is going to have to deal with a little bit of that fiat currency. It is just an unfortunate reality. So, with that in mind, I actually just want everyone to be aware of this. I feel as though the idea of inflation, it's something that everybody should understand, because it is your buying power and your savings being hurt. So, because of the fact that fiat currencies are not tied to anything of physical value, there is nothing to limit the amount of them being produced. Just to give some perspective, for a very long time, global currency was backed by the gold standard. This meant that every single dollar added into circulation would need to have an equal value in gold in order to represent it. Of course, gold itself is limited by it being a finite natural resource. There are only so many ounces of it on this entire planet, and on top of that, an even smaller amount of gold has actually been processed into bullion form. Bullion just refers to pure gold coins, bars, and rounds, and this is the form it must be in order to be useful for backing up a currency. Long story short, because you needed physical gold to back up every single dollar produced when we were on the gold standard, and people could freely trade their dollars for gold at a fixed rate within their own banks even, the amount of money in circulation, it was capped by the amount of gold bullion available to back it up. This brings us back to the point of fiat currency now. Without the gold standard or anything of physical value limiting its circulating supply, inflation is free to take place on a very large scale. It should go without saying, but the more dollars there are in circulation, the less each dollar is going to be worth. To paint a better picture, let's imagine there were only a billion total United States dollars circulating, and you had $1,000,000. That would mean you held 0.1% of all circulating United States currency. But what if there were $1 trillion circulating instead? You can still have your million, but now all of a sudden it represents just 0.0001% of the total circulating supply. Needless to say, while the amount of money you have in each hypothetical situation is exactly the same, its actual value, the buying power it has within an economy, is vastly different. So now, let's imagine a less than hypothetical situation, also known as reality. Every single year, more currency is being added into circulation than what is being taken out. When 2016 began, and we're going to be looking at the United States specifically here since that's where I personally live, and according to my demographics, it's where the majority of you do as well, but in any case, when 2016 began, there was about $1,422 billion worth of United States reserve notes circulating. Reserve notes are what you and I would call cash, by the way. Now, by the time 2017 would begin, this number had increased to $1,509 billion, and it just keeps growing. By August of this year, it had broken past $2 trillion, currently sitting at around $2,087 billion. Now, what does this mean for those of you who have been saving up your money this entire time? Well, unfortunately, the longer you've been saving for, the more value your money has actually lost. And there are literally no banks out there that will consistently match this loss of value with their own interest rates should you be using a savings account. Now, to give a concrete example, let's say in 2015, you saved up $5,000, and then, for whatever reason, you had to spend it today. Well, that $5,000 now has the same buying power that just $4,554 had back in 2015. Essentially, spending all $5,000 will earn you the same amount of goods or services that spending just over $4,500 of it would have earned you back when you first saved it up. Do you see my point yet? It is impossible to save all of your actual wealth. Sure, you can keep the same amount of money forever, but when the dollar itself continues to lose value, you simply cannot maintain your actual buying power. Now, as I said earlier, I am not here to offer some amazing solution to it all. Never would I pretend to be a financial advisor when I simply am not. But again, you, as a holder of fiat currency, have the absolute right to understand why it is a crappy system for all of us real people who are just trying to save up a little extra money. With that all having been said now, thank you to everyone who saw this video to the end. Your support truly does mean the world to me, and it is the very reason I have finally brought back this channel from the Shadow Realm. Until next time though, peace.